Go ahead, put it on real tight. Hope you brought your best tonight. They say they got the fireworks, yeah, they say they got the show. You're around the shoots, you're the best, so let's go.
This is Texas Toast. I'm your host, Miss Helen. Kick back and enjoy as we toast the best from Texas.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Texas Toast. I'm so excited for our guest because I have been following his music, sent out his music to everybody, had a chance meeting with him. Let me just say, welcome, Case Hardin. How are you?
I'm doing good. I appreciate y'all having me on. I'm excited for it. I'm a fan of the show.
Oh, thank you. Well, it was funny. Let's talk about our chance meeting. So I'm at the Texas Regional Radio Awards, and of course, I was going to get me a cocktail, and Case is there, and I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" We struck up a conversation, and when you said I'm Case Hardin, I was like, and I know you probably thought I was full of it, but like seriously, like I remember hearing some of your music, and I was like, even on the radio in Houston, and I was like, "Who is Case Hardin? You have such a wonderful sound." So let's go back a little bit so everybody can get to know you that's maybe not familiar. So you grew up in San Angelo, and you come from a ranching rodeo background.
That's right. That's right. So all the way back in my prime of 1994, I born and raised here in San Angelo, and my parents and pretty much all of my family have always rodeoed and ranched and things like that. So it's a good place to be. The people are great, and that's one of the best parts about it. And it's central Texas, but you know it's far enough out to like the next biggest town. I think would be about 3 hours away, and that would be Austin or San Antonio. So we're kind of out here, secluded a little bit, but there's a great music scene out here in West Central Texas, and so it's the folks, it's the music scene, and I just love everything about it.
Absolutely. So did you ranch and rodeo on the ranch, or did you actually participate in a sport in rodeo?
Well, both. So growing up, it was almost the $1 million question that my granddad or even my dad would get is what sport is he gonna compete in? You know, which event is Case gonna be a part of? And so it was instilled on me at an early age to really be a part of rodeo, and finally picked up a little bit with my granddad and in high school, and then started playing this music thing in my senior year back in 2013, and I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot more, the traveling around and playing shows. I just knew right from then that was what I was supposed to be doing, and so I kind of sold off some of that stuff that I was going around trying to rodeo with, and then started picking up more guitars, and now I got to the point where I need another guitar, like I need a hole in the head, but it's fun. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, and the experiences that I even had this conversation today it's the experiences that not everyone gets, and so it's cool for me to sit back and think, man, I actually got to do this when back in 2013, just a few years ago, I would have never even expected it. So it's really cool. It's really nice.
Well, I'm so glad that you did the music thing because your music is amazing. Let's go ahead and talk about your current single, When You Roll That Way. And I have to tell you, I spoke of that song on our Texas on Tap, which is a segment of Texas Toast that Kyle and I do together back in January when it was first released. It's moving up the charts. It's like at fixing to bust in the top 10 on CDX Tex on this day. You're about to go into the top 5 on Texas Regional Radio Report. But one of the things that I talked about when I previewed the song was that it just made me think about the old days when we would go dancing at the dance hall, and your music, all of your music, like takes me back so far. So good job on that one.
Well, thank you. And that's what I take pride in is records and songs that I would want to listen to, that I kind of grew up with, and it's kind of the cool thing of when I was a little kid in that car seat going from rodeo to rodeo with my parents, and the kind of music that, because back then Faith Hill, Reba, and George Strait and Tracy Byrd, those were all brand new songs coming on radio. So I kind of wanted to get back to that and kind of the prime of country music, if you will. And that's the kind of stuff that I want to put out and play and the kind of stuff I'd want to listen to. So all the questions I get, well, what's on this record? What's on this next single? How is it? And it's country. So that's what I take pride in.
It is. It's exciting country. It just takes me back. It makes me feel young when I listen to your music. And so now, do you songwrite, or do you just select your songs from certain songwriters?
Well, I do a little bit of both, and I take pride in some of the songs that I write, but I really like some of the songwriters that we get to work with, and I can tell you my trash pile is a lot bigger than the trash pile for songwriters. It's a lot worse on my end. I'm not near the writer that I want to be, but it all takes time, and you just grow gradually, and that's one of the cool learning curves getting into this. And I never really had any family members that were musically inclined, and so and I might not be either, depending on who you ask. But it's
No,
kind of
you
cool
are.
to,
You are.
it's kind of cool to be able to take that curve and kind of roll with the punches and be able to write some stuff that you really like. And for me, I'm a big words guy. The lyrics are the main thing in a song for me, and the melody kind of comes second. And once we get to rolling with it, and that's why we have great musicians in the studio and a great band to follow behind me. I couldn't do half of the things I do without my band.
That's what I want to talk about, because let's talk about your band and who's producing you and your band members and how this all came together.
Sure. So I in the studio, I really lucked out. Kenny Groman out of San Antonio co-produces with me, and he's been great. Worked with all sorts of guys from the 90s, from the era that I wanted to kind of mold myself around. Tracy Byrd, George Strait, and all those guys. And so it's you couldn't ask for a better guy. He understands what I want and the kind of guys that we need to have on these songs. So Ronnie Huckabee, Straits band leader, and a couple of other Straits guys that are in his group. And so we've also got, on our first record, we had Aaron Watson, fiddle player, which is Damien. Me and Damien have been real close friends since then, and I mean, it's just a good group of guys. John Carroll on the lead guitar, and he makes it to where my guy, my personal in my band that I use live, Michael Martin. They play exactly the same, so it makes it real easy to go from studio and implement that live. And so it's just great musicians working with great musicians, and I couldn't ask for anything more.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I mentioned with When You Roll That Way, was the fiddle was gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I tell you, and that was all Kenny Groman on that song. I'm real big on steel guitar. I love a great steel guitar, and Kenny said, no, this one needs to have a fiddle in there. So on some of these songs, we had Hank Singer in there, who's played with Leanne Womack for years, and just moved back to Texas. And as soon as he got back to Texas, we threw him into the studio. So it worked out real well.
Talking about your first debut album, I have to tell you, it's Over Fort Worth, and you had 1, 2, 3, 4 songs on there that all charted. And Texas Rain was a huge hit for you. Ultimately, it ended up at number 2 on the top 100, 200 for that year. I mean, that had to be huge for you.
It was great. I didn't really know that it had happened until I saw on Facebook from a friend of mine's from high school's grandmother, and she had commented on there, congratulations, and I didn't know what it was. And then I started seeing all these other congratulations from all sorts of different people, and even people I had never talked to before. So it was really cool. And that song came from a couple of buddies of mine. They were up in the Panhandle, had their own band, and they had broken up, and you know how band breakups go, and so they didn't have that song anything to do with the song. And I said, hey, do you mind if I cut and record and potentially put it out on radio? And they were great. And as a matter of fact, I talked to them today. I still consider them friends, and they're great songwriters, and that's something cool I get to work with, is just a West Texas kid writing and singing great songs.
Mm-hmm. So another one I have to talk about off of Over Fort Worth is I'm in love with Deep Blue Me. And
I am too. I
I
love that
actually
song.
think that was probably one of the first songs I heard. Like it just happened to catch my ear. But oh my goodness, that is just like my humming song. I like to put it on when I'm cleaning house, and I'll just keep humming it and humming it. Awesome on that one.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that one, that was one of my favorites from the start. I mean, when I went through and went through the vetting process of songs, Deep Blue Me still was. I even released that first before we had released anything to radio, because I just wanted to get that song out there, and then finally you go through the radio process, get a radio promoter, and find a team to work with, and at the time, me being brand new, just a kid fresh out of high school, it was hard to convince those guys, like, hey, trust me, I'm in this for the long haul. I really want to push this record. And once they heard songs like Deep Blue Me and Sign of a Fool and Texas Rain,
Oh,
they
Sign
knew
of a
from then
Fool.
on
Yes,
it was
yes.
what it was going to be. You know, it's going to be a great record, and it worked out really well for us. And I couldn't have asked for anything more on Over Fort Worth. That's why on this next record, Up and Coming, that I hope I can outdo the previous record, because the last record, if I do say so myself, was pretty good and really country.
It sure was. And so where do you get your instinct for everything? Because I know that a lot of musicians you had mentioned that, you don't have like a lot of musicians in the family with heritage. So where does your instincts and how did you develop your talent?
I tell you, I honestly, I think it is going to all these rodeos at such an early age, and after every rodeo, there's a dance, and so
Yes.
getting and hanging
Yes.
out with all these dance bands at these rodeos, and because gosh, I've been to. My parents were actually talking about it one time at I think Thanksgiving one time, that we've gone to every single state in the United States with the exception of Hawaii, and that's just for rodeo. And so it's really cool to see, because you can see all types of people and bands, and even with my dad traveling around, that knew Chris Ledoux really well, and he would pop off and be playing at a rodeo somewhere, even at his prime, but hey, it's Chris Ledoux, so and getting to hang out with those kind of guys, the 8 Second guys, and Tuff Hedeman and all them, that
Oh,
they're just
wow.
icons now that you looking back that I got to experience in my childhood. So it's places and people like that have really influenced what I do and how I act and the songs that I sing, and so it's a unique experience, and it's just really cool to be able to look back on.
And that's so obvious looking at you. And it's like rodeo is such a tight family too.
Absolutely, and as a matter of fact, San Angelo, my hometown, just had their rodeo here a few days ago, and we played on the last weekend, on the finals weekend, and it was so cool, because it's only every once in a while that you get to see these guys, probably once a year, but it's for 3 weeks straight, and you get to see all the guys, and it's the same thing. If you go to San Antonio, you'll see the same guys. You go to Fort Worth, same guys. Go to Houston, same guys. So
Right.
it's really cool, and like you said, real tight knit family, and everybody knows everybody, and that's either really good or really bad.
Right. And it's like if especially with rodeo, you have to be so disciplined. And I think you've taken that into your music.
Absolutely, and it's really comparable to rodeo and radio. Rodeo and music. It's the same. You all hop in a van together and go to the next show, and we just follow each other around. So it's really neat, and I have a buddy that is a rodeo announcer, and that's what we were talking about, is being able to cross paths as much as we can, because we'll be around the same shows and around the same areas. So it'd be good to see each other, and it's just neat.
Yes, it is. Now let's talk about another song that you have, Alcohol Abuse. You gotta be
You bet.
sharp. You gotta be sharp to keep up with that one. I mean, like, I
Oh.
think every freaking concoction of alcohol is named in there, and then you even cover the beer. I just love it. It's so fun.
Well, thank you. Yeah,
And it went
that's
number
kind of
one. It went number one. I
went number
followed it.
one. You
Yes,
bet.
yes, yes.
Yeah, and I can't thank y'all enough for mentioning it. And it's one of the cool things is I took a little break after Over Fort Worth. I took a little break, got a little sick, and once I was able to come back, and perform and start playing music again after I got the 100%, check off from the doctors. That was our lead single off of this upcoming record, and so for that to go number one was huge. And what my little shtick to it is in every alcohol in that song I've tried more than twice, so I know all too well about every alcohol in that song, but it's really, really neat. And I had a great songwriter on that one, and Bernie Nelson actually had helped us out with the selection of that song. And we went into the studio, and I couldn't sing it. It was too quick, and I was running out of breath. I was way too out of shape. And my producer Kenny Groman said, "Hey, just get out and take a lap." And we were like in downtown, I couldn't just take a lap somewhere. He said, "No, just take a lap around the block." So I took a little lap and came back, and I guess it opened up my lungs or something, but we were able to cut it in one take. So it worked out.
Oh my God. That is like the best story ever I have heard about a song. Oh my goodness. I love it. I love it.
It was fun. But I'm glad I only had to do it once.
Oh my gosh. I love it. Okay. So you're on your radio tour now. How's that been going? You meet a lot of my fellow radio people and visit.
Oh, that's right. No, it's fun. Like I was saying, it gave me a really good excuse to skip school when I was in college. But now it just it takes up my Monday through Wednesday, Monday through Thursday as we get ready for shows toward the end of the week. But it's really, really cool because we're able to hang out with guys that, you don't see every day, like I was saying earlier about rodeo, and they coincide a lot with each other. And you get to go out there and promote your music and pick up spots to play along the way. You never know who's listening. And I can't tell you, it's weird with alcohol abuse going on that radio tour, how many places we picked up just for the simple fact of being in their area and being on a station. We'll get a call from booking and they'll say, "Hey, were you here, in South Texas? Were you in Victoria? Were you in Shiner?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, we got a new show down there." So it's really cool how it works out, and everybody looks out for each other. And
yes,
we're hopefully helping. We're working toward that second number one.
Yes. I remember when I was in radio, and of course I was always the go-to Texas music girl. And it was like, I always had a list of go-to venues in our region. We're a regional station. We covered a lot of area. And it was like, I would say here, I would hand it to them just in case, or I would tell our, like different venues, it's like, you need to check this person out. And it does go hand in hand so much. And speaking of live shows and you playing, you have shared the stage with so many notable people.
Oh, I've been blessed. It's amazing. The guys that I looked up to in high school, before I even had a band, I was just some kid playing acoustic cover songs, and like guys that I'd see and think like, "Oh, this song is great." Kyle Park is one that comes to mind, and being able to play with him quite a bit, that's awesome to me. I mean, 17-year-old Case would have cried, so. It was cool, but guys that are really icons, Tracy Bird, and being able to bump elbows with guys like Straight, it's amazing, and I wouldn't trade it at all. It blows my mind, and all I can say is that I'm blessed.
Yes, well, you're blessed, and you just have that spirit and soul for this music and your sound. So what's up and coming for you? What can we look for?
Well, we got that new record coming out. Going to be here in about a month or two, and that's what promotion tells me anyway. And I'm ready for it. Heck, I've been ready for it. And we had it recorded, and then COVID hit, and so we couldn't really put anything out there on radio because we couldn't really promote it, and nobody was having shows. So I did a lot of sitting and a lot of writing and hanging out during the 2020 COVID days. And so but the fact that it's, finally time to release it and get the other songs out there on radio is going to be nice. And we also got word the other day from booking that we have quite a few shows lined up with Turnpike Troubadours and their return back to Texas country music,
that's
or
awesome.
country music in general.
Awesome.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And I think one is even going to be right here in San Angelo, in my hometown. So that's going to be a really cool show. I think we'll go from the rodeo to the Wild West Fest that they have out here in San Angelo. So it's going to be really nice, and get to see a bunch of buddies, and maybe even make some new ones. So it's going to be cool.
Oh, I'm sure you will. Well, I'm just going to tell you that it's like you got this thing going on, and I was so excited when we met at the Texas Regional Radio Music Awards. It was like that was just a great chance meeting because I've been wanting you on the podcast. And so, one last question before I let you go, Mr. Alcohol Abuse. If you were a cocktail, what would you be?
Oh, I gotta. They say you are what you eat. You are what you drink. I'd have to be an old fashioned with Pendleton whiskey. I'd be an old fashioned for sure.
Okay.
That's my go-to every time.
Oh my gosh, Case, it's been amazing visiting with you, and I know I talked your ear off the first time we met. But I
appreciated the conversation.
Yes, well, you just keep doing what you're doing, and I'm so excited to see what the future holds for you and your new music coming out. And of course, I know your current single. I'm watching it. I know it's gonna go up there. I know it is.
Well, that's the hope, and I really appreciate y'all having me on. And that was exactly, where to find me was just pulled up at the bar at Texas Live. So you knew where I was going to be.
I know. It was like and then we hung out like forever, and I was running around, and then
I know it.
Everybody was coming up, and we're hanging out, and Clay Hollis came up, and Matt came up, but it was just a great time. So congrats on all this.
Now that I know.
Huh?
Well, now I know who to go to. I heard on a podcast a while back about Captain Clay Hollis. I'm gonna have to have him teach me a little fishing.
Oh, I could. Okay, so Captain Clay will be the offshore guide, and I'll be your bay guide.
Hey, sign me up.
Because wasn't I pulling up fishing pictures? When
you were, and I was trying to show you mine, but mine were far less impressive.
Oh my gosh, this has been too much fun. So down the road, we'll have you back on, but thank you so much. I enjoyed the visit.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
With a heavy tongue, she knew where I was from. As she left, I dared to say, well, you can go to hell. Hell, I'll go to Texas. I've had my fill of every place but home. Take away these city lights, put me on a one-way flight. I'm leaving out of here tonight. Just consider me gone.
I swear, you and I could like talk forever. Like seriously, like it was like, well, this, that. We just kept talking.
We were sitting there, and when we were at the award show, and what was killing me is I was placing bets with our tour guy. He had come up with me because my girlfriend was working. And so we were like placing bets on who would win. I had everything circled like we were at the racetrack. And as soon as we we'd hear one, I think because you were down there with us too. We're all
I was, and I was saying, oh, that's who. Let me tell you who I voted for. Wait, can I remember who I voted for? That's how I was rolling.
Oh my god,
that's how I was rolling. Oh my god, so much fun.